Welcome to the deep dive.
Okay, so today we're taking a shortcut, really, through this stack of data. Feels like it's lifted right out of some kind of complex digital system. We've got these raw stat screens, detailed inventories, equipment loadouts, and our job basically is to figure out the thinking behind whoever put these together.
That's right. It's not just reading numbers. It's almost like a statistical forensics. We need to spot the patterns in these loadouts,
Yeah.
these gear sets. Understand what the numbers, the item counts actually mean in context, especially things like the modifier value.
Yeah, and what kind of jumps out straight away is while most of these are level 27 snapshots, they show two really different ways of playing, like two completely separate loadouts.
Okay, let's start with the first one. Let's call it loadout A.
Yeah.
This configuration, it's dominant in the first half of the sources we have, pages 1 to 6, roughly, often labeled Arena or Arrow. We can kind of see this as the baseline build, maybe.
Yeah.
Its defining feature, I'd say, isn't head or feet stats, but the defense. A solid 510 body Y rating. And crucially, this persistent -7 modifier. All right, that -7 modifier, that feels important. For anyone not familiar with this system, we usually interpret that as a pretty big trade-off, don't we? It often means you're taking a hit on defense, maybe recovery, probably for more agility, or damage output. Suggests a really aggressive style, high risk.
Precisely. And if loadout A is about high-risk output, well, the inventory seems to confirm that idea. Just look at the item counts on those screens. They are wildly inconsistent. One snapshot, you see, by 23 items here, by 3 there. Next one, same slots, might have by 36, by 86, even by 74 items.
Okay, so this isn't just static storage then. This build is actively using resources,
Yeah.
burning through them. It seems designed for, rapid consumption, high turnover. Very much an aggressive spender, you could say.
Right. Now, if loadout A is built for that kind of aggression, then around page 7, things flip. We see a complete strategic reversal. This is loadout B. The player seems to have fundamentally changed their whole approach, moving away from high-risk output towards, well, pure resilience.
And the numbers really back that up, don't they? It's quite spectacular. The main thing is that body Y slot. It doesn't just creep up, it jumps. From that baseline 510 all the way to 610, that 100-point difference, that's not just tweaking. That's a serious commitment to defense.
Mm-hmm. And it comes at a cost. Look at the modifier again. It adjusts.
Mm-hmm.
From that high-risk -7 to a still costly but less severe Henest 5. So they basically traded 2 points of that penalty to gain 100 points of raw defensive buffer. It's like swapping, I don't know, a fast, light vehicle for something heavily armored.
And here's where it gets really interesting with the trade-offs. Loadout B, it also shows big changes in the leg slot. The main leg stat shifts from 307 down slightly to 302, and we see this new 515 value pop up. Plus those secondary leg S numbers, maybe stability, mobility efficiency, they go from 12 and 17 to 13 and 20. Heavier, maybe?
Yeah, it looks like the whole structure is designed to be more anchored, more stable.
And this defensive focus seems to extend beyond just the gear itself.
Oh, absolutely. This configuration seems linked to massive resource hoarding, too. Specifically on page 10, that screen shows maximum counts by 100 across several slots. Backpack, belt, feed items, all maxed out. So loadout B isn't just defensive gear-wise. It looks like a fully stocked staging area, ready for anything.
So if we connect that to the bigger picture, Loadout B isn't just on level 27 screens. It shows up on level 26 too, pages 9 and 10.
That's right. Which is a key insight, I think. It suggests the gear set itself, that commitment to the 610 Buddy Y, the Mana 5 modifier, that's more critical than a single character level difference. It feels like the player found the build for whatever challenge this is, regardless of a minor level change.
Okay, so summing up then, we have these two very specialized setups.
Yeah. Configuration A, volatile, high consumption, the NATA 7 modifier build, aggressive. And Configuration B, the heavy-duty defensive tank, 610 Body Y, Mana 5 modifier. Resilient, prepared. They clearly serve two different purposes in the system. Maybe standard arena stuff versus something tougher like difficult travel or environmental hazards. Arrow, maybe hints at travel.
Right. So here's the final thought for you, the listener, to maybe mull over. Given that intense cost, the huge shift in stats need to go from a 510 Body Y to a 610 Body Y. What specific, overwhelming pressure or threat in the system would force you to ditch agility and invest so heavily in just pure, solid defense? What kind of challenge makes you hoard by 100 resources while locking yourself into such a defensive posture? What are you optimizing for? Something to think about.
Welcome back to the deep dive. Today we're getting into something a bit different. Pure data, really.
Yeah, no text articles this time. We've got these, well, they look like system logs or maybe complex character sheets. Lots of numbers, stats, inventory counts.
Exactly. And our mission basically is to decode these arrays. We're talking dense stats for slots like head, backpack, body, legs, across different snapshots labeled LVL27 and LVL26.
And what's immediately apparent when you start comparing them is that even within the same level, like LVL27, there are actually two distinct system configurations showing up.
Two configurations. Okay, tell me more.
So in the first batch of snapshots, let's call it configuration A, you see certain base stats, like 510, 307, 350 for some core slots. And crucially, there's this system modifier, kind of like a global debuff, set at -7.
-7, got it. So that affects everything.
Pretty much. It seems like a fundamental part of the calculation. But then you look at later LVL27 snapshots and things change drastically.
Yeah.
This is configuration B. The base stats jump, think 610, 302, 515, big changes. And that global modifier, it shifts to -5.
Whoa, okay. So same level label, LVL27. But the underlying math, it's fundamentally different because of that modifier change from -7 to -5.
Exactly. It's like a system patch happened, or maybe a major rules update went live between when those snapshots were taken. And interestingly, the LVL26 data we have also uses this newer configuration B with the -5 modifier.
So config B became the new standard, even for the lower level shown.
Yeah.
That's a big structural shift hidden behind a simple level number.
It really is.
Okay, so the system's core math changed. What about what the users are actually doing or holding? Let's talk inventory, those X counts we see everywhere.
Oh, the inventory is maybe even more revealing of different states. The variability is just huge.
Huge how? Give me an example.
Well, look at one of the early snapshots. The inventory is quite sparse. You see counts like, by 23, by 20, maybe just by 2 or by 3 of certain items. Pretty lean.
Right, like someone just starting out or maybe post-activity.
Could be. But then you jump to another snapshot, still LVL27, mind you, and the inventory just explodes. We're talking dozens of different item types listed, with counts like by 16, by 36, by 86, by 74. There's even this weird bundled entry, 5 by 100.
5 times 100. So 500 units stacked somehow. That's a dense.
Super dense. And it gets even more extreme. If you look at the LVL26 data, particularly one snapshot, the inventory slots are basically full, just rows of I-100, maxed out.
Okay, so that points to wildly different user states, right? From scarcity to absolute, like, resource hoarding or maybe endgame preparation.
Exactly. And we actually get some hints about why. Some snapshots have explicit labels. We see Arena written on a couple of them, one with config A and one with config B, actually.
Arena, okay, so maybe a specific mode or location.
Seems likely. It suggests these loadouts, the stats and the inventory, are tailored for specific, maybe competitive situations.
Yeah.
There's another label, too, just arrow on one snapshot.
Interesting. So the context matters. The system isn't just one monolithic thing. It adapts, or the users adapt their loadouts for specific activities like Arena.
Precisely. The environment or the activity state seems to directly influence the configuration and the resources you see.
All right, let's pull this together. What have we really learned from digging into these numbers?
Well, two main things stand out, I think. First, that seemingly simple labels like LVL27 can hide really significant underlying changes in the system's core rules that shift from the -7 to the -5 modifier is a huge deal.
Right, the structure itself wasn't static.
Yeah.
And second?
Second, the user activity is incredibly dynamic. We see everything from very lean, resource-scarce profiles to completely maxed out inventories. And these states seem linked to specific contexts, like the Arena label tells us.
So the numbers show both hidden system evolution and very different ways people are interacting with that system. It's fascinating how much a string of numbers can tell you.
It really is. Consistency on the surface, like the level, can mask a lot of variation underneath.
Okay, so here's something to chew on. We see these massive, unique identification numbers on the profiles, like 30465000000 on one, then suddenly 103254010070 on another.
Yeah, those long strings.
If the level can be the same, like 27, and maybe the inventory doesn't change that drastically between two specific points, what could possibly cause such a colossal jump or change in that main ID number? What action or event flips that identifier so dramatically?
That is a good question. What makes the core ID shift like that?
Something for y'all to think about. That's our deep dive for today. Welcome to the deep dive. Today, we're doing something a bit different. We've got these 10 snapshots, right? Just fragments of some really technical UI. Could be a game, maybe a sim, hard to tell exactly. But our job is to piece together a story from just these glimpses. We're looking at levels 28 through 31.
Yeah, it's like digital archaeology almost. We're tracking, the basics level experience points. But the key is figuring out what the other numbers mean. Some are clearly item counts like for head or backpack. But others, like for body, belt, legs, those look more like attribute scores from gear, power levels, that kind of thing. We need to find the patterns and the inconsistencies.
Okay, let's start with progression. The XP, we see levels from 28 up to 31, mostly 31. And the experience needed, the denominator. Usually it looks like 180,000. There's one screen, 589 out of 180K, standard stuff. But it's not always 180K, is it?
No, and that's really interesting. When you look at the lower levels in these snapshots, it changes. At level 29, the cap drops to 140,000. And even lower at level 28, it's only 125,000 needed then.
Wait, so it gets easier to level up right before level 30? That seems backwards.
It does. It suggests maybe leveling isn't the only thing controlling that XP bar. Maybe clearing a zone. Or some other major milestone resets the requirement. It's definitely odd.
Definitely something weird there. And we see the player's actual XP swing wildly too. Like one snapshot at level 28 shows them just about to level 124,840 out of 125K. So close. But then other times, like at 31, they're practically starting fresh, like 989 out of 180K.
Exactly. It's volatile. And that volatility, you see it mirrored in the inventory counts too. Some stability, but also chaos.
Okay, yeah, the backpack slot, that seems pretty fixed, right? Almost always by 20.
Like a standard capacity, or maybe some core resource they just always keep topped up.
Yeah.
Very consistent. But then look at the top slot, the one labeled head sometimes. The count there.
Oh, that one's nuts. It goes from what, by 47 on one screen?
Yeah.
All the way up to by 88 on another? Huge swings.
Totally. So if the backpack is stable, that head slot must be for items that are highly consumable, used up fast, maybe crafting materials or temporary buffs, something they burn through quickly.
Shows they're actively managing resources, yeah. Okay, so inventory's dynamic. What about the equipment scores? The body, legs, etc.
Right. This tells another big part of the story. Let's take the body-wise score. We see it often at 510, especially on those LVL 31 screens, and even back at 29. Seems like a baseline. But then, on other level 31 screens, it jumps up to 583. A significant boost.
Okay, so maybe a gear upgrade between those points, but there's that one outlier.
Yeah. Page 5, level 30. Suddenly the body-wise score is 710.
Whoa, that's not incremental. That's like finding a legendary item, right? A massive jump.
Exactly. A step change. So it's a major gear acquisition happened right around level 30. Changes everything. You see similar, though smaller, jumps elsewhere. The Legia score, for example, it's often 302 at level 31, but on some level 29 screens, it's up at 350. So clear evidence of swapping gear pieces in and out.
Okay, so gear swaps cause big attribute shifts. Makes sense. But some things don't seem to change much. That overall modifier.
The plus 100. Yeah, that's incredibly stable. It's almost always plus 100. Only dips once, very briefly, to plus 98 on one screen. So that feels like a core base stat modifier.
And what about that little number at the bottom, the 97?
The footer element. That's persistent too. Shows up on nearly every single snapshot. Except, interestingly, on that same screen with the huge 710 body Y score, it changes to 9 of a 5.
Huh. So maybe it's tied to gear somehow? Or a temporary debuff that got slightly better with new gear?
Could be. Or maybe a base penalty that changes under specific conditions. Its consistency, even with the slight change, makes it seem important, fundamental somehow.
So pulling it all together, we've got this picture of a player constantly juggling resources, that volatile head count, while looking for those big gear upgrades that cause massive jumps in power, like the body Y score.
Yeah, it's a system of contrast. Wild fluctuations in some areas, big step changes in others. Constant management meets sudden leaps. Which brings us back to that XP thing, that provocative thought for you, the listener. If the XP needed to level up drops at lower levels like 28 and 29, what else, besides just hitting the next level number, could be changing that fundamental progression rule? Is it completing a certain quest line? Unlocking a new tier of content? Something systemic is shifting that 180,000 sailing. What do you think it could be? That's your deep dive.
Welcome to the deep dive. We've got quite a specific set of documents you sent over. We're calling it the College Notebook Corpus.
Yeah, it's fascinating stuff. It lays out the inventory, the resources for a character, Arren Sawyer, in the game Backpack Hero.
Right, the roguelike. So our mission today is to kind of decode what these logs, these numbers are actually telling us.
Exactly. And we're looking at it through the lens of procedural rhetoric.
Yeah.
The idea that, how a player allocates resources, their build, is itself a kind of argument.
An argument for competence.
Pretty much. An argument for the player's skill, their strategy, made through game actions, not words.
Okay, so to figure out how well Arren Sawyer or the player made that argument, we used a couple of frameworks.
We looked at what we're calling intentional design, the DCD-like, their goals and changes over time.
And then the system audit, the SLD, how effectively they understood and, well, exploited the game's rules.
Right. And the first thing you notice looking at this data is that the character's identity, Arren Sawyer, it's just the numbers. There's no story, no background.
So their credibility, their ethos, it's purely based on performance metrics.
Absolutely. And that fits Backpack Hero perfectly, doesn't it? The game forces such tight spatial planning. Your competence is your ability to manage that inventory effectively.
Okay, now looking at the actual data, something really jumped out on the stability side. We called it architectural invariance.
Ah, yes, the head and the belt slots.
Exactly. Across all 10 pages documented, the metrics for head 170 and belt 150, they are absolutely constant, 100% stable.
And that tells you something important. It suggests the player locked down these foundational pieces, fully upgraded, never changed.
Why? To reduce variable.
Precisely. In a chaotic game, they're creating certainty. They built this stable core, minimizing variance so they could focus resources elsewhere. It's a strategic choice for reliability.
Okay, but, I mean, couldn't that just be routine? Like they got good gear early and just stuck with it. How do we know it's intentional design?
That's a fair question.
Yeah.
But that's where the DCD evidence comes in. Specifically, the main inventory, the backpack.
Ah, right. That changes.
It does. Significantly. It starts at 510 capacity for the first 6 pages, then jumps to 610 for the last 4.
Okay, let me just calculate that. That's nearly a 20% increase, 19.6%.
Exactly. That's a major structural investment. It wasn't just finding better loot. It was a deliberate expansion.
So the player prioritized more space, more carrying capacity over, say, immediate combat power.
That's what the data argues. They're prioritizing resource maximization, management. It's like they're playing the long game, building capital, thinking almost like a CFO managing assets.
Which ties into the other lens, the system audit, right, the SLD.
Because how do they fill all that extra space? Look at the item stacks.
You mean the I-100 stacks? We see those repeatedly. Multiple items maxed out at 100 units.
That's the tell. That My-100 confirms they hit the game's maximum stack size. Consistently hitting that means they didn't just get lucky. They figured out and exploited an efficient farming method.
They mastered the game's internal economy, basically, like using known broken builds, maybe pickaxe strategy or something similar, to just generate massive amounts of resources.
It demonstrates technical superiority through understanding the system's syntax and logic. That's a successful SLD.
So let's pull it all together. What's the big picture here? What's the holistic rhetoric story about Arren Sawyer's motivation?
Well, the core motivation seems to be competence, control, maybe even systemic autonomy.
Autonomy, how so?
Think about the genre. Roguelikes are about high risk, high loss, permadeath, often, but by accumulating such massive resource stockpiles enabled by the larger backpack and efficient farming.
They're building a buffer.
A huge one. It's like using overwhelming capital to nullify the risk. They achieve quantified control over a system designed to be unpredictable. They're insulating themselves from failure.
So the journey from 510 to 610 capacity isn't just about getting bigger. It documents this whole process. Optimization, foresight, resilience, all quantified.
It's procedural argument for practical wisdom, you could say, achieving a kind of computational resilience against the game's chaos.
Which leaves us with a final thought for you, the listener.
Indeed. Arren Sawyer's success here, documented in these notes, it sort of proves that the game's own rules, if you analyze and exploit them deeply enough, can almost guarantee success. It challenges the whole idea of difficulty in these high-risk games.
So the question becomes, did Arren Sawyer win by mastering the game or by mastering the underlying spreadsheet? Something to think about. Welcome back to the deep dive. Today, well, it's pure data archaeology. I have 10 snapshots, just numbers on a screen. Looks like maybe a game interface. And our mission really is to treat this like a data set, figure out the rules, the system behind it, and spot where things go wrong just by looking at how these numbers change.
It's a great challenge. You can see the basic structure right away, right? Head, body, leg slots. There's that constant plus 100 bonus too.
Yeah, that seems fixed.
But with no labels, no context, the meaning has to come purely from, well, the change. how things fluctuate. We're hunting for those moments where the system seems to break its own patterns.
Okay, so let's start with probably the biggest anomaly, the level. Pages 1 through 5, the subject is LVL 34.
Right, stable.
And the XP cap is consistently 250,000. Like, page 1 has 63,825 progress towards that 250K. Standard stuff.
But this is where it gets really interesting. You get to page 6.
And suddenly they're LVL 33, a whole level lower.
Exactly. And crucially, look at the XP cap again. On page 7, for instance, the maximum XP needed for LVL 33 is now 220,000.
Oh, wow. So it's not just that they lost XP.
No.
Okay.
That's the critical insight for you, the listener. The system didn't just penalize progress. It actually reduced the maximum capacity, the definition of that level.
Which means?
It points to something permanent. Not just, an XP debt or a temporary debuff. It's a fundamental change to the character's baseline structure or potential. Maybe a class change, a respect gone wrong, or a really severe penalty.
Okay, so that level regression feels like a major trauma to the system. Does that show up anywhere else? Like in the gear, maybe? Those X multipliers.
Absolutely. You'd expect losing a high level might force you to unequip powerful gear, right? And the numbers back that up dramatically.
How so?
Look at page 1 again. The multipliers are like by 20 and by 45. Pretty solid.
Oh, stable.
Then, right after the level drop, page 6, things get chaotic. One slot jumps to a huge by 75, but the other's down to by 17.
That sounds like scrambling. Maybe using temporary items or swapping things frantically?
Could be. Desperate measures, maybe.
Yeah.
Because it doesn't last. By page 7, those same multipliers have crashed down to by 4 and by 7.
Oof. That sounds like key gear slots are now basically empty or just broken, debuffed into the ground.
Precisely. Catastrophic failure in equipment, likely tied directly to that level loss.
But wait, looking at the bottom left stats, those big numbers,
Yeah.
they were already shifting wildly before the level drop, right?
Good catch, yes.
Yeah.
While still LVL 34, there are huge internal shifts. Page 1 has, moderate base values like 170, 270. But by page 3, still LVL 34, those have exploded. We're seeing numbers like 803, 630, way, way higher.
What does that suggest?
It looks like a desperate last-ditch effort before the crash, like activating some ultimate ability maybe, or stacking every single temporary buff and consumable they possibly could.
Trying to power through whatever was causing the problem.
Exactly. Running on borrowed time or borrowed power, numerically speaking. A massive temporary surge just before the system brought the hammer down and dropped the level.
Wow. Okay, so massive internal fluctuations, then the level drop, then the gear collapse. Is there one single number that tracks this whole crisis?
There is, and it might be the most telling one. That small indicator, bottom right.
The one that flips between positive and negative.
That's the one. Think of it as maybe a stability meter or resource balance or something critical like that. On page 1, it's positive, a healthy +4.
Okay.
It dips a bit, goes slightly negative around page 5, maybe foreshadowing trouble. But when that level regression hits between page 5 and 6,
Let me guess, it tanks.
total collapse. It plunges to -6 on page 6. And it stays down there, settling at a really bad -7 for the last few snapshots.
So from +4 stability to -7 instability, mirroring the level drop and gear failure.
It's the numerical signature of the whole event. Complete resource drain, maybe morale failure, system shock. Whatever it represents, it broke completely.
Okay, so putting it all together, these snapshots show a really dynamic system. It's complex, it allows for huge temporary power spikes, but it's also prone to, well, sudden and permanent structural damage. We've basically mapped a cycle here. Internal boosting, followed by a catastrophic system failure, the level drop leading to gear collapse, and a total crash in that final stability metric.
It paints a pretty clear picture of a major crisis unfolding, which leads to a really interesting question for you, the listener, to think about. Given this dramatic, permanent shift from LVL 34 down to 33, and that simultaneous crash in the final indicator from a healthy +4 all the way to a crippling need to see 7, what kind of catastrophic in-game event do you think must have happened right between pages 5 and 6 to cause such a complete and lasting system failure?
Okay, so let's dive into this. We've got these interface screenshots, right? All showing this character, Arren Sawyer.
Yep, about 10 of them. And our job is to kind of piece together what's going on, what defines this player's state at any given moment.
Exactly. So we're looking at the same person, but at slightly different times.
Right, and they seem to be bouncing between level 34 and level 35. The interface itself says max level, so they're right at the current cap, it looks like.
And the basic structure looks pretty consistent, visually anyway. You've got the slots, head, backpack, body, belt, legs, feet. That doesn't change.
Yeah, that's stable.
Yeah.
And there are these 5 resource numbers that also seem locked in. 803, 343, 290, 185, and 625. Whatever those are, health, mana, maybe some kind of permanent currency. They aren't fluctuating like the inventory.
Oh, yeah, good point. And almost every page has that plus 100 bonus showing up somewhere.
A constant modifier.
Yep.
Doesn't matter if Arren's 34 or 35, that plus 100 seems to be always active. Something systemic.
So, okay, the core thing seems to be this level fluctuation. LVL 34 on some pages 7 through 10.
And then LVL 35 on pages 1 through 6. Like they're flickering back and forth.
What does that tell you? Usually you hit max level and stay there.
Well, it suggests that maybe level 35 is a really tenuous state. Like maybe you need absolutely everything optimized to hold on to it.
Okay. So the system might be super sensitive, lose one important item, and boom, you're knocked back down to 34.
That's what it looks like, which kind of brings the whole idea of level into question, doesn't it?
Yeah, because look at the inventory counts. Even at level 35, they swing wildly. Top right corner, you see.
Oh, definitely. Page 2 shows a stack of what, by 75?
Right. But then you flip to page 5, still level 35, mind you, and it's only by 26.
That's a huge difference.
Yeah.
It suggests the actual stuff Arren has equipped or is carrying at that exact second might be more important than the level number itself.
So the level is more like a potential, maybe, not a guarantee of power.
Could be. And check out page 4, still LVL 35. Here, the inventory breakdown is different again. It's per slot.
Oh, yeah, I see. Body by 48, backpack by 34. Very different from just the single stack count.
Exactly. So the interface itself has different ways of showing inventory, maybe distinguishing between equipped gear counts and, like, consumables in the backpack.
Interesting. Okay, so gear changes, inventory changes constantly. What about the other numbers, the ones on the top left? Those seem different.
Oh, yeah, yes. That's where it gets really interesting, especially when Arren is at LVL 34. We see, like, 3 distinct types of large numbers popping out there.
Okay, lay them out for us.
So first, on page 8, there's this enormous number, 2076225500. Just massive.
Whoa, okay, that's clearly not items or gold. What could that be? A server timestamp or like a unique player ID?
I'd lean towards a unique identifier, like a permanent digital fingerprint for Arren Sawyer, something that doesn't change, tied to the account itself, perhaps.
Okay, makes sense. What else?
Then on page 9, still LVL 34, we get a fractional format, 11069125300. That looks like experience points, right? Current XP over the amount needed for the next level.
Yeah, definitely looks like an XP bar tracker. Needed 250,000.
But then, look at the next page, page 10. Still LVL 34.
Yeah.
The format is similar, but the numbers are different. 155, 714, 256,000.
Wait, the amount needed changed from 250K to 256K?
Exactly. So even the goalpost for leveling up isn't fixed. It seems conditional on something else, maybe the specific gear loadout or some other hidden state.
Wow. Okay, that adds another layer of complexity. And you mentioned one more thing on page 10.
Yeah, down near those stable resource pools, there are these other numbers that only seem to appear on this page. 100, 20, 170, 150. Internal counters of some kind.
Maybe temporary buffs or charges for certain abilities. Very specific.
Could be. The point is there's a lot being tracked simultaneously.
So for you listening, what this really shows is how deep these systems go. It's not just about hitting level 35. That seems almost secondary.
Right. It's about managing this constantly shifting inventory, keeping track of your XP towards a potentially moving target, knowing your permanent ID.
And being aware of these other hidden metrics, like those numbers 120, 170, 150 that pop up.
The big takeaway really is that Arren Sawyer isn't just a level. It's this complex, dynamic profile defined by all these fluctuating numbers happening at the same time. The level is just one label among many.
Which leaves us with a final thought for you to chew on. If this digital character state can be partly defined by a number like 2076225000, how many different data points, from your heart rate right now to your browser history to where your phone is, how many numbers would it take to truly define your state at this exact moment? Something to think about. Welcome, everyone. Today we're diving into something pretty unique, a set of 20 snapshots for a character called Arren Sawyer. And honestly, it looks like pure progression chaos. Very volatile stuff.
Yeah, that's putting it mildly. Our job here is to kind of sift through this numerical whirlwind. We've got levels jumping all over, inventory going nuts, stats flipping. We need to figure out the pattern. If there is one, what system lets this happen?
Okay, let's start with the levels then. That seems like a core issue. We see Arren hit LVL 35, right? And it actually says max level on screen, but then boom, they're back at LVL 34 or even LVL 33 sometimes. And at LVL 34, there's like actual XP progression shown.
Exactly. That's the puzzle, isn't it? Those LVL34 views show fractions like 15714 out of 256,000 XP. So they are still leveling. It tells me max level isn't some hard endpoint. It's maybe a state tied to their gear, something they can pop in and out of.
Hop in and out of max level. Interesting.
But amidst all that jumping around, notice the plus 100 modifier. It's almost always there, like rock solid.
Ah, yeah, I see that. Okay, so that plus 100 must be something permanent then, like an ability or some core item that never gets swapped out.
That's what it looks like.
Right.
A stable baseline, which, if you think about it, suggests all the other chaos must be coming from, well, the gear.
Right. If the level keeps changing, the gear defining that level has to be changing too, super rapidly.
Let's look at the inventory counts then. That should show us something.
Oh boy, yeah. This is where it gets really wild. The stack counts, the little XN numbers next to the gear slots, they are all over the place. Like the head slot item, I saw it as high as by 75 in one shot.
75.
Yeah. And then later views, it's down at by 20. Just a massive swing.
And check out the backpack count. It's phenomenal. It goes from by 20, jumps to by 48, crashes to by 7, then bounces back to by 45. That's not someone just cleaning out their bags. That's speed. It feels almost automated, you know? Like rapid cycling for optimization.
Okay, but cycling that fast, is that just smart play, or is it maybe pushing the system a bit, like an exploit kind of thing? Does it actually result in, like, good build?
Well, we can see the results in the main stats. Let's call the common LVL35 setup Configuration A. High primary stat, looks very defensive, balanced. Then there's Configuration B, mostly at LVL34. It's the opposite. Primary stat tanks drops maybe 80%.
80%, wow.
Yeah, but other specific stats, like tertiary ones, they get boosted instead. It suggests a totally different focus. Maybe speed.
Yeah.
Or some low-health tactic.
It's honestly kind of dizzying seeing these stats flip-flop. So what about Configuration C at LVL33?
C is sort of a middle ground again, but different. It gets back some of that high primary stat from A, but then it pours everything into the third main metric. Looks like a pure damage output build.
Okay, so A is defense, B is tactical speedy, C is damage.
Seems like it. And look at the final number. Usually bottom right. Sometimes it's negative, like Mevic 7, Metric 6. Other times it's positive, 3 or 4. That tells me the overall state or maybe resource level of the character is massively impacted by which gear set is active. It's all calculated.
So bringing this all together for you listening, Arren Sawyer's profile isn't about steady climbing. It's about instant, sometimes nonlinear changes. Intense optimization, switching builds on a dime, maybe even like partial resets to stay effective in different situations.
Absolutely. Flux. Constant change. That's the core identity here. Jumping between these powerful specialized states instantly.
Okay, so here's something to think about. Given all this volatility, this crazy swapping of gear and levels, what critical action might happen when Arren finally hits that close X button? Is it saving the current setup, logging out? Or maybe confirming one specific state over all the others? What final condition are they trying to lock in? Okay, so let's dive into this. We've got these interface screenshots, right? All showing this character, Arren Sawyer.
Yep, about 10 of them. And our job is to kind of piece together what's going on, what defines this player's state at any given moment.
Exactly. So we're looking at the same person, but at slightly different times.
Right. And they seem to be bouncing between level 34 and level 35. The interface itself says max level, so they're right at the current cap, it looks like.
And the basic structure looks pretty consistent, visually anyway. You've got the slots, head, backpack, body, belt, legs, feet. That doesn't change.
Yeah, that's stable.
Yeah.
And there are these 5 resource numbers that also seem locked in. 803, 343, 290, 185, and 625. Whatever those are, health, mana, maybe some kind of permanent currency. They aren't fluctuating like the inventory.
Oh, yeah, good point. And almost every page has that plus 100 bonus showing up somewhere.
A constant modifier.
Yep.
Doesn't matter if Arren's 34 or 35, that plus 100 seems to be always active. Something systemic.
So, okay, the core thing seems to be this level fluctuation. LVL 34 on some pages 7 through 10.
And then LVL 35 on pages 1 through 6. Like they're flickering back and forth.
What does that tell you? Usually you hit max level and stay there.
Well, it suggests that maybe level 35 is a really tenuous state. Like maybe you need absolutely everything optimized to hold on to it.
Okay. So the system might be super sensitive, lose one important item, and boom, you're knocked back down to 34.
That's what it looks like, which kind of brings the whole idea of level into question, doesn't it?
Yeah, because look at the inventory counts. Even at level 35, they swing wildly. Top right corner, you see.
Oh, definitely. Page 2 shows a stack of what, by 75?
Right, but then you flip to page 5, still level 35, mind you, and it's only by 26.
That's a huge difference.
Yeah.
It suggests the actual stuff Arren has equipped or is carrying at that exact second might be more important than the level number itself.
So the level is more like a potential, maybe,
Yeah.
not a guarantee of power.
Could be. And check out page 4, still LVL 35. Here, the inventory breakdown is different again. It's per slot.
Oh yeah, I see. Body by 48, backpack by 34. Very different from just the single stack count.
Exactly. So the interface itself has different ways of showing inventory, maybe distinguishing between equipped gear counts and, like, consumables in the backpack.
Interesting. Okay, so gear changes, inventory changes constantly. What about the other numbers, the ones on the top left? Those seem different.
Oh, yeah, yes. That's where it gets really interesting, especially when Arren is at LVL 34. We see, like, 3 distinct types of large numbers popping out there.
Okay, lay them out for us.
So first, on page 8, there's this enormous number, 2076225500. Just massive.
Whoa, okay, that's clearly not items or gold. What could that be? A server timestamp or like a unique player ID?
I'd lean towards a unique identifier, like a permanent digital fingerprint for Arren Sawyer, something that doesn't change, tied to the account itself, perhaps.
Okay, makes sense. What else?
Then on page 9, still LVL 34, we get a fractional format, 110,691,253,000. That looks like experience points, right? Current XP over the amount needed for the next level.
Yeah, definitely looks like an XP bar tracker. Needed 250,000.
But then, look at the next page, page 10. Still LVL 34.
Yeah.
The format is similar, but the numbers are different. 155,714,256,000.
Wait, the amount needed changed from 250K to 256K?
Exactly. So even the goalpost for leveling up isn't fixed. It seems conditional on something else, maybe the specific gear loadout or some other hidden state.
Wow. Okay, that adds another layer of complexity. And you mentioned one more thing on page 10.
Yeah, down near those stable resource pools, there are these other numbers that only seem to appear on this page. 100, 20, 170, 150. Internal counters of some kind.
Maybe temporary buffs or charges for certain abilities. Very specific.
Could be. The point is there's a lot being tracked simultaneously.
So for you listening, what this really shows is how deep these systems go. It's not just about hitting level 35. That seems almost secondary.
Right. It's about managing this constantly shifting inventory, keeping track of your XP towards a potentially moving target, knowing your permanent ID.
And being aware of these other hidden metrics, like those numbers 120, 170, 150 that pop up.
The big takeaway really is that Arren Sawyer isn't just a level. It's this complex, dynamic profile defined by all these fluctuating numbers happening at the same time. The level is just one label among many.
Which leaves us with a final thought for you to chew on. If this digital character state can be partly defined by a number like 2076225000, how many different data points, from your heart rate right now to your browser history to where your phone is, how many numbers would it take to truly define your state at this exact moment? Something to think about. Welcome to the deep dive. Today we're looking at some really interesting character snapshots, lots of numbers, inventory details.
Yeah, it's like we're seeing different states of the same profile, right? It looks like someone named Arren, or maybe Arren Sawyer.
Exactly. And the levels are jumping between 34 and 33, but the stats, they're all over the place.
That's the core mission, I think. To figure out why these numbers swing so wildly, it seems less about the actual level LVL 34 or 33.
And more about the loadout, what they're equipped with.
Precisely. So let's dig into that main puzzle first. Why does LVL 34 look so different from one snapshot to the next?
Okay, yeah. So pages 1 and 2, we see LVL 34, but the stats are, pretty low, like 170, 270, 150.
Right, relatively low hundreds. And look at the body and leggies values there, 16 and 11. Seems like maybe a base configuration.
But then you flip to pages 3 through 5, still LVL 34.
Whoa, yeah, big difference. Stats jump way up. We're seeing 803, 630, even 850.
And the body and legs slots, they jump too. Body goes to 23, leg hits 14.
So it seems directly tied to that heavier gear. It's got to be right.
You'd think, but is it just that? Could those high numbers be base stats for, I don't know, a different specialization unlocked at that level?
That's a fair question, but look at the head slot modifier. It's bouncing around like crazy.
Oh, yeah, I see that. By 20, then by 45, by 50, even hitting like 91, 99 later.
Exactly. That suggests constant tweaking, rapid swaps. even when the main body and legs are potentially locked into that high-stack configuration.
So like they're fine-tuning constantly based on the situation, even within that heavy setup.
Makes sense. Now, this isn't just happening at LVL34. Let's look at LVL33.
Okay, what are we seeing there?
Similar volatility. We see that same high stat potential. One snapshot shows 803, 510, 610, with body at 20 and legs at 13. Pretty beefy.
But not maxed out like the LVL34 version.
Right, slightly lower body legs. But then, other LVL33 snapshots, they drop right back down.
Back to the lower stats, like the 170, 510, 350 range.
Yeah, with body 17, legs is 12. So this character can clearly switch between a high-power mode and a more basic one, regardless of whether they're 33 or 34.
And did you notice that weird label on page 7, RANZ, only shows up once?
I did see that. No idea what it means yet, but it's another unique detail in the mix. The constant seems to be the name Arren or Arren Sawyer.
Okay, let's shift focus slightly. There are two other numbers here that seem pretty important. The experience fraction.
Right, the XP needed for the next level usually shows progress, like X out of Y.
And that number in the bottom corner, the status modifier.
Yeah, typically buffs or debuffs, positive or negative effects.
So the XP denominator, the goal, it's almost always 250,000 at LVL 34. Seems standard.
Standard, yeah.
Yeah. Until
Until you hit page 5, suddenly it's not 250K anymore.
No, it leaps massively to what, 4,250,000?
4.25 million. That's a normal level grind. That feels like a special condition, maybe a huge objective or something triggered.
And look what happens to the status number when the character is in those high stat loadouts, especially around that huge XP goal jump.
Ah, good catch. When the stats are low, the status is often positive, right? Like +4, +1.
Yeah.
Little buffs.
But in the high stat configurations, across both LVL 33 and 34 examples.
It goes negative
It
consistently. -1, -6, -2, even -7.
So stronger gear, higher stats, but a negative status effect.
That's what it looks like. So the takeaway for you listening has to be this idea of state specialization.
Yeah.
This profile's power hitting those 800+ numbers.
It's not really about being LVL 33 or 34. It's almost entirely dependent on the gear equipped in those key slots. Legs, body, maybe head too.
Exactly. The level seems almost secondary to the loadout configuration.
Which brings us to that final thought. If that massive 4.25 million XP goal is tied to some high-stakes situation where you need that maximum power.
Then what if those negative status numbers, the -6, -7, what if that's the cost?
Like activating that superpowered gear set maybe triggers a penalty, a resource drain, or some kind of debuff the system imposes.
Could be. What is the actual price you pay for accessing that kind of peak performance on demand? Something is definitely going on there.